What is going on, guys? We are here back for more filmmakers and putting more films on to your radar at GenreBlast here in beautiful Winchester, Virginia. And I'm sitting here right now with Mr. Scott Homan, documentarian. I think this might be the first interview I've had in a long time with a documentarian. What's going on, man?
How you doing? It's been great to come to GenreBlast, and it's been really fun to show it here and have it be selected here.
And everybody that saw the film really loved it. And the film in question is called Witness Underground, and it brings up a lot of things and places a lot of things on people's radars that I don't think people are aware of, and kind of breaks down a lot of misconceptions and really humanizes a lot of people, but kind of confirms a lot of beliefs in the same part. And so I'm kind of wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what the film's about.
The film is about a music scene that emerges within a cult, a religion, a high control religion, and it becomes sort of the bonds that they create through the art scene are much stronger than the bonds they have through the religion. So when one is like the catalyst, he leaves the religion for ideological reasons, and they maintain a communication, which usually isn't the case. Usually, in this case, it's the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they have a very strong policy on shunning and like putting up a wall, or they try to keep people in the cage essentially. They ban communication outside of the religion, outside the congregation. And in this case, because their bond is so strong, the artists at the heart of the scene sort of keep communication across that barrier, and it becomes a sort of conduit out. So a lot of the people at the heart of the scene sort of start exiting. So it's really about like the exit story, and it for all these different people and different reasons why people exit a religion like that. And then I don't know what I was gonna say there. That's basically the thing.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I love about this movie so much is that it's brutally honest. It doesn't hold anything back, and I am a born-again Christian, and I've done lots of studying on Jehovah's Witnesses and many other kind of religions like it, and I think that this film kind of places a lot of things, like I said, like it confirms a lot of things that people believe or think that they know about Jehovah's Witnesses, but it also humanizes people within that community as well.
The film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of my big goals to humanize, at first, in coming up with the story and like trying to tell my personal story, because I grew up around this faith and in it to some level, not as deeply as most of the people in the film. But I want to humanize the people on the outside in case someone on the inside were to watch it. Like, they're not really allowed to watch me like this. They self-censor. They go on the internet and find something that disagrees with their belief system, and they like shut it off. So I wanted them to like get to know them. But for the people on the outside of the religion, whether they're in a faith or atheist or whatever, they would see it, and I wanted to humanize the people in the religion as well. And I wasn't able to get people that are still in the religion, but since all the people in the film were in the religion and then left, we have to spend the first like half the movie talking about their experience in the religion in a way for the people on the outside to see like, oh, they're like understandable, real, humanized people. They're not others anymore. And then when they go through their exit process, in case any witnesses were to watch this or other people that are in a religion, they would see that when you go out, and the literal definition of apostate is someone who just doesn't believe what they were taught as a child. There's a better definition on the internet, but I wanted to humanize those people to anyone who might be going through a similar experience.
Yeah, and I think that, music specifically is something that, whether it's kind of like this wall barrier, is that you can bring people from different religions, different races, different experiences, and connect them all through this same medium, similar to how you can with film. And for me, as a viewer and someone someone that has done the research, like I never really thought about Jehovah's Witnesses specifically as musicians or creative people, just because a lot of the people that I've known within that community have been kind of it almost kind of feels like suffocated when it comes to the arts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious how you kind of stumbled upon the scene in particular that this film explores.
That comes from my own experience, though, because I was raised in the religion. I had sort of like a Jehovah's Witness light experience personally. So my parents are very open-minded about me being in sports and doing extracurricular stuff after school, even though you're not allowed to generally. And took up music in the 90s, and I was in a band in high school, and we played prom, and you're not allowed to go to prom. I spent the last 3 years of my high school experience in a band, and then after high school, I stayed in that band. We like formed a real band and recorded an album and played a bunch of bars and stuff, and it was really fun. But through that, I met all these other active witnesses who were also making music, because I was sort of half in, half out, and towing the line, I guess, enough. But because I sort of like got roped back into the religion. I left at 19, then kind of roped back in for the culture and my family. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it on my own terms. But I met all these interesting artists in the religion. And so I'm not in the film, but I met all these Jehovah's Witness artists in Minneapolis, and I went to college. You're also not allowed to go to college. But yeah, so I got to know them, and they were sort of like, I'm only going to choose interesting people to be friends with in the religion. And so I discovered through some of my friends in Madison, in Chicago, that there was a whole music scene in Minneapolis. I ended up moving there for school, and those became all my friends. And so I was like, oh, there's like a whole scene here that just, it gets bigger and bigger. The more I dig in, the more artists I find, and there's shows and concerts and like little music festivals they were putting on, very insularly inside the religion, that weren't really branching out at all. So I kind of, and then we would go to shows to other bands. We were all those people, and myself included, went to shows since we were like 15 years old, going to concerts and punk shows and metal a little bit. And exactly. I don't know if you saw the logo, but the logo for Banana Island Films is like, like the devil.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'm like big into punk rock and metal still to this day.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it was a really fun community, very vibrant art scene, and in a way, like the pressure that the religion put on it, like they were limited. They had limitations. So like working within those limitations, they almost helped their creativity spawn in some other way. And yeah, they're incredibly creative. I was very impressed. I realized then, I was like, well, I'm a musician, but I'm not as serious about it or like into it as they are. And I ended up going to camera school in Minneapolis. And I was like, well, later on, I was like, I think I can tell stories through music that are really emotive. And I feel like music, everything I've made pretty much has been with musicians. And it's something that, like, whether you're religious or atheist, or this religion versus that religion, or this culture versus that, or this nation versus that, like, music is like universal, almost pre-language, and emotively, it can like hit you harder. The story can hit you harder if music is a part of it. And I use music a lot as a tool in the film. They had hundreds of songs, and like over 30 albums of like high production quality music they recorded that is all totally secular, like zero religious themes in any of their music, including mine at the time. I have one song I snuck in that I recorded.
Nice.
From my own band. But yeah, I really wanted to emotively I want to tell an emotional through line through the film that ebbs and flows with the songs that they created.
Yeah, and I totally, as a viewer, totally see that. I think that you pulled that off really well. And while we're still on the subject of music, I know that I brought this up during the Q&A, but like I said, I always love putting new artists and independent creators such as yourself on the radar of our viewers. Can you kind of talk about or give us like a few recommendations for like bands to check out that while people are kind of waiting for the film?
From this scene, the best, my favorite bands, there's a lot of good bands. My favorite bands are High TV, and they're highlighted in the film, and they were formed right after the religion, but it's three of the people that left the religion. They were in bands together and different bands together in the religion, and then when they got out, they all formed a band, and it's amazing. They're incredibly good, and they still perform live to this day, and have a bunch of albums out on. You can check them out on Bandcamp, HIGHT, High TV, and then. Ryan Sutter has a lot of great songs, and he's actually got a new backing band. So he's always self-recorded everything. He's on Spotify, so we can have whatever player you play, search for Ryan Sutter, and he'll be coming out with some new recorded stuff with this band. It's like really fresh. His stuff's pretty cool. It's kind of like stuff like washes over you. It's like really soothing.
Nice.
Like yeah, he's really talented. And then I loved Day Trip. They're highlighted in the film. I think they have one album out, and it's really good, but it's like from way back in the day. That's like 2005 or something.
Okay.
They're really talented group. And Chloe is the singer of High TV. Also was in her original band, was Chloe. So that stuff's on Bandcamp. It's a Nuclear Gopher Vault. So Nuclear Gopher was a production studio that recorded all the Jehovah's Witness music, and now they're still run by Ryan Sutter. His stuff, or their stuff, is like there's like 30 albums. It's incredible. So I would say those 4 bands are probably highlights of the scene. There's a bunch more stuff on there. Also, the Lavone was Ryan and Rhett Sutter was their band as teenagers, and they have a bunch of albums out. And their stuff's all over the place. A little bit more like synth heavy, has like 80s tones to it because of the synth. More like indie pop, and it's interesting stuff.
Just to clarify for viewers at home, Chloe's not spelled the way that you would think it is. It's like Khloey, right?
I think there's no H. I think it's Kloey.
Okay. Well, we'll provide links in the descriptions wherever you guys are watching this. But can you kind of talk about the film? I feel like deals with a lot of themes specifically to mental health and specifically to church hurts. I think one of the
Church what?
Church hurts. Hurts.
Church hurts.
Hurts.
Yeah.
Like pain.
Yeah.
And one of the, I think, the most heartbreaking sequences in this is someone close to Ryan is kind of the central subject that we're following throughout the course of the film, and someone close to him dies, and he basically is not allowed to attend the funeral. And from someone that, like I said, like I am a Christian, but I've also experienced like my own share of like trauma and like excommunication, not to the degree that Ryan experiences, but I mean that kind of stuff really takes its toll on him.
Yeah. You want to speak to the funeral aspect or the shunning?
Can you kind of talk about kind of like, I guess like the mental health like aspect of that?
Okay, so one of the main reason that I really got motivated to, let me hold that.
No, you're good.
Is the main reason I wanted to film this is because I had my own experience with shunning, and that point in the movie you're talking about, Ryan has recently left the religion, and he sort of was like central to the music scene and that community, and when this person dies, he goes there to the funeral, and they ask him to leave, and he's like, it's audacious. They think it's audacious, or like it's an attack on their faith for him to be at this person's funeral. It's one of his family members, which is not uncommon, actually. That's like, I would imagine that if any of my family members would die who are still in the religion, I would not be welcome to go to the funeral. And ultimately that became part of the catalyst for a lot of these people to leave, because they thought how rotten and unloving that is, and dark and hateful that is for a religion to like, or a culture of the religion to teach that's what should happen. And ultimately it's incredibly selfish of the individuals to think like that, and damaging for the religion to act like that, impose those laws and rules. In terms of mental health, I mean, he's still suffering from that.
I think that there's I know that we have a couple individuals on our staff that have experienced the kind of exercise in pain and trauma that presents, and they're still going through their own healing process, and it's really something that one of my favorite scenes in this is kind of you taking us on this journey to kind of see how he's responding to leaving afterwards, and he actually bounds his own, as he calls them, holy scriptures.
Yeah, you're right. He writes he's like, well, the Bible was holy, and the church regards the Bible as holy. Most Christian churches do. After he leaves, he creates like his own, almost not faith system, but he puts a bunch of literature together and finds a book of literature that he finds important at that time in his life as part of his healing process. And I think most people, like I've now interviewed a lot of people for this project and my other side project called XUW coming out, and what I've found is like the first 2 to 5 years after someone leaves in faith, there's anger. It's almost like there's like a lot of stages, and it usually takes until people are about 10 years out, is what I've observed, where they sort of are okay and have landed on their feet. He also, Ryan in the movie, he also discusses his blog. He wrote everything about how he was feeling and what he was researching into this blog for like 2 years. He blogged like constantly. So that's out there. It's called Hira, 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 and I think that's probably really healthy. I mean, I don't know. Everyone who goes through something like that should probably be seeing a therapist. And I think like, I mean, even me making this film, or like some artists, musicians have like gone and made albums. And he also has he's a good example of that. He's made like 3 albums. One was like as he's leaving the religion, one's like right after, and one's like he sort of got it together and sort of like formed his own like worldview a few years later. So like art's it's a way we can use it as a tool to sort of like wrap our head around where we're at and express that. And I think that's probably a great part of the healing process. But you know, therapy is like a shortcut. You can go talk to someone and they can help you out. I'd recommend that to anyone. In terms of, and on that note, Recovering from Religion is a nonprofit that you can just like go on there for free and chat. I think it's recoveringfromreligion.org or .com, one of the two. And there's like a global network of people, no matter what your situation is, even if you still believe and you are interested in being a Christian or maintaining your faith or whatever the religion is, they're there to like sort of guide you. But their whole focus is like religion itself can be damaging and traumatic, and there's a lot of reasons why, and a lot of people in those faith systems are acting out in a way that can like hurt us, but they can like guide you to get help.
It sounds like a really awesome resource, because it is, from someone that has experienced their own fair share of that stuff, it is really hard to, you know, hear you open yourself up and you're vulnerable to people that claim to be united to you under like an umbrella of a God who loves, and then are the exact opposite. And I feel like this film captures that just very bluntly, and kind of shows the damage that can do. And you talked about like the period of kind of taking almost 10 years after the incidents have happened, and it kind of almost sounds like it's the individual going through the grieving process of kind of getting back to normal.
I think that's exactly what it is. If you look up Google the 7 stages of grief or something like that, there's a lot of parallels there. And the religion still has value in this world, and I really wish that there was like a secular equivalent, because I'm atheist, but that's beside the point. But you know, religions provide community to anyone. You can walk in the door of a church pretty much anywhere in the world, and people will say hi to you and they'll be nice to you, especially at the beginning, and they won't, you know, most of the nice things in community start at the beginning. But there's rewarding relationships to be had there, and there are rewarding relationships to be had really anywhere if you like find something that you love to do or a hobby. But there's not really like a great secular equivalent to that. And you know, yeah, find a hobby or a passion. Like, I mean, I'm in the film community, so like I'm meeting people everywhere in the country, and everyone's awesome. Like everyone's so fun to hang out with. I don't know how deep those ties will go, but or like I'm in a rock climbing community because I rock climb a lot. But choose something. I think just like you'll meet great people there. You don't need to have a faith or like the umbrella as you called it. But yeah, like you can walk into an organization and like there's people there, or go to find meetup.com. You know, like go find a community that are like-minded. And there's what I found from traveling. So one of my exit stories is like I traveled a lot when I was in the religion, and then right after I traveled, like I just went hard. I went to South America. I went to Central America for like 6 months. I moved to Vietnam for 5 years, and I want something else, anything else. And part of the education there was that people are amazing. Humans are amazing everywhere, and most people will treat you with kindness and generosity.
Yeah, and I feel like honestly, like I always feel like I catch people off guard when they say that like hear that I'm a Christian and that I hate organized religion. And I feel like it's a whole other podcast in and of
Sure.
itself. But
it seems contradictory.
Yeah.
But like ultimately, I think your personal experience or understanding of how the world works should be your own, and you don't need to adopt the ideologies that come with an ancient religion. Those are packaged in this really strange way, where it kind of has like an authority figure, and they come like the group comes with like a moral code, even if whether or not that aligns with the holy book of choice that religion particularly uses. I feel like you can still be spiritual as an individual, or you can still have a faith without needing the organization that goes behind it. And like, there's not one religion you can point at that says that's like you can point at and say like, oh, they've done everything right for their entire history. they all have baggage, especially the older the religion is, the worse it is probably if you look in history. But I would encourage people to just like think for themselves and don't rely on groupthink or like on a faith system to support you. You don't need that. You need like real wealth comes from community. Just like find your community is maybe where like my advice to people in a general sense.
Also, I'll say two last things on that note is that, first off, I think that when I do get to talk to people specifically about like why I still believe after all the damage that and heartbreak that's been done through me, to me is because that like I know that people are imperfect, and I know that also at the same time that like over the years of like finding out like what I believe, why I believe, has been this journey of frustrations. Also too is that one of the things that I've often found in organized religion is that people kind of have this tendency to just pick and choose what they want to believe in terms of it. And secondly, I also want to say that I think your comment about community is absolutely valid. I think that sometimes it's really minimized. It doesn't get to talk about or like the importance of it, especially when you're talking about mental health. Like if you can surround yourself with people that are passionate about film or are passionate about the same things that you're passionate about or believe the same things that you have or have gone through similar life experiences, it gives you the sense that you're not alone.
Yeah. I agree with that. I don't know what I want to say on that.
That's cool. So my last question obviously is going to be, where can people find out more about the film and follow its festival run, and hopefully inevitable, when can people find it in their homes?
The film is on, you can see the trailer and find out more information on witnessunderground.com. It's a website I run, and then it's also on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. WU for Witness Underground. WU, the film, is most of those, all the social ones. And then in terms of, it's in a film festival run, so like right now, we've been selected at like 7 festivals. A few of them have run virtually, and this one's in person, not virtual. Next month there's one called Peachtree Village International Film Festival out of Atlanta. They're going to be fully virtual, and hopefully anyone in the U.S. can watch it. There'll be limited tickets, but it'll be like $10 if it all goes to the festival, and that's in mid-October. You follow on social, you find out more about that. And then we're going to be playing in Minneapolis on November 12th in person. That's going to be a big deal. I think there's going to be some virtual component to that, maybe based out of Austin. I'm not quite sure how all the details work, but that's in November 12th. There'll be a screening in person. And then we're looking for distribution. So like my big goal for the film is that it just is out there and anyone can watch it, whether it's a subscription like Netflix or Amazon or something similar like Vueler, which is a new up-and-coming one. VUULR.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of new ones, but I'm still learning how that all works. But I'm trying to sell the film, and I'm getting money. I'm trying to recoup the costs. I've funded this myself, and I basically did everything except for the story edit myself. But hopefully next year it'll be widely distributed. But follow on social to find out more.
Any money that you have to pay to watch this movie in a film festival, whether it's virtual or in person, go for it. This movie is amazing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and be on the lookout for more GenreBlast coverage.